Yo, hey, we back, man. So, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on a mic, man. It's been a lot of things have happened, good and bad, ups and downs, the regular shit, you know. Um, just I don't know. I'm happy to be back. It's a lot to talk about, But we want to get to the episode. I don't want to, drown you with all my stuff, man. But I'm just happy to be back. It's this process of developing a podcast and helping out friends and going through your own personal battles and dealing with these things. They make you go off track. And I gotta apologize to everybody who's listening to this. I was off track, man. I was trying my best to do so many different things instead of just trying to focus on what I do best. And what I do best is podcasting. What I do best is photography. What I do best is just what I do. And I figured out that I needed to make some real conscious changes and get back to doing this. Lately, things have been so crazy in the world. And, you have mass shootings. You have people who are dying senselessly. They're just going to go shopping at a Walmart. And the reason why I bring this all up is because there's a lot bigger things happening than my small podcast and my little issues. And I realize that. And life is very short. I'm always reminded of that every time I've seen it. I've had plenty of, death and issues in my personal life. So I understand that life is short and you have to live it for now, even when you're broke. You can be broke as a joke, not able to pay no bills, but you still got to keep living your life. You got to figure out a way to keep living, because that's what separates you from somebody who just gives up in life and just going to go aimlessly through life, and someone who's actually going to make it. Things happen, good or bad. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has shown support, those people who are still showing interest. I really appreciate you guys. This thing isn't easy when you're on your own, but thanks to people like my people at Strange Moon and Sam, Dan, Cassie, all these other people back in the day, man. I appreciate everybody, man. Thank you guys for everything, for being supportive. It's been a real experience, a real up and down kind of thing, and seeing everything that is happening out here in this world and all the stuff that has been going on. It makes you realize that you have to prioritize the things that you want, the things that you need in your life, and you got to stay focused on those things. But yeah, so we're here. We're talking about it. These are the things that I'm talking about today. I just wanted to come on here and say, the reason why it's been such a minute is because, hell, I was in a struggling spot, man. I didn't have the time nor the focus. Like, I needed to make money, and unfortunately, this podcast wasn't making me any money at the time, and I had to go out and figure out how to pay my bills. But that's changed. I can honestly say that's changed. Things are in a good place. Things are coming along ever so slowly, but they're coming along, and I'm not wasting no more time. I'm not taking my time. I'm getting to it, and I got to make things happen. So, man, it just feels good to be back. It feels good to be doing this. I hope I'm not rambling too much. Hope you didn't just turn it off because I'm rambling, but there's so many other things I could talk about, but we'll get down to those things down the road through other podcast episodes where in this kind of situation, I was trying to go, trying to bring it to video. I was trying to do all these things, but I learned that in most situations, you got to stay in your lane and keep building on your lane and stop worrying about trying to keep up with everyone. You might say that to yourself 100 times, but somehow subconsciously you still do anyway, because we're in a competitive state. Instagram got us like super focused on trying to find that competitive state all the time. Like, we got to be with everybody. I got to be on, my story's got to be hotter than his. My car's got to be nicer than hers. All kinds of shit. And I kind of came to realize, like, I'm not controlling my destiny if I'm trying to keep up with everyone, because I'm no longer keeping up with everyone. I'm just trying to mimic and build on what everybody else is doing. I got to stay focused on what I got going on and what's important to me, and stay focused on those kind of things. And I really, really believe that you have to build on your future and what you're trying to do, and build on specifically your stuff. So I said, screw trying to be all on the video and trying to make things YouTube channel, all this kind of stuff. Stick to what I know. like my podcast the way it is. You know, it's more audio than visual. And down the road, I'll get to the visual part. But for right now, I just want to stick to this. I want to enjoy it. I found myself trying to make it into too much of a thing instead of just enjoying why I started a podcast. And I was just talking to people and getting to know people and not trying to be the biggest of anything, because at the end of the day, that's a worthless pursuit. You got to do it for why you love it. You got to do it because you love it. And I love it. I love doing this, and you know, I hope I haven't been running my mouth too long. You guys have decided to turn off the episode at this point, but I really love doing this, man, and I hope to God that, you know, I'm 80 years old still doing this, and I hope that I'm 80 years old looking back at thousands of photos I've taken, and they've won prizes and they've been places, and while I'm doing that, I'm sharing this same format, I'm sharing this same conversation with you years from now. And I hope that it's all a successful thing. So with all that being said, I appreciate everybody, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I got a really, really, really dope person who I have known for years. And she is just a super talented person who's super passionate and is still growing and developing and building towards her future. And she's trying to make things happen for real, for her. And she's already been somewhat successful on certain scale, but she's also been tremendously successful on another. So without a doubt, man, Alana Johnson is a special person, man, and really good peoples. And I hope that you guys enjoy the episode. And other than that, like I said, this is going to be really dope. We're going to get touched into a lot of truth, man. So I got to go. I hope you guys enjoy it. And on that note, I'm out. Peace. Yo, what's up, everybody? Yeah, so we're back. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's doing good. Today, I got a special guest. I got somebody I've known for a long time. Woo. This person is what I would say is a tremendous ball of energy, Woo. A great person, very much about her career, but also, at the end of the day, she is a caring person. And she cares a lot about what she does. But more so than anything, I've never met anybody who's so talented on so many different levels, but is always moving. Like, she's always growing as a person. And I'm happy to have on here the homie Lana.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So let's get started, man. Enough to say, what's going on? Welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Thank you, my brethren.
Yes. Brethren is right. Yes.
I'm feeling fan-fucking-tastic. Me and Brian are both Johnsons.
Johnsons, that's correct.
Johnsons.
That's right,
yeah,
baby. That's
we
right.
We got that strong last name. You know? You're going to
Yes.
learn today about these Johnsons.
Non-porn affiliated last name.
Right?
So,
oh, my God. Did you get shit for that growing up as a child?
Yes, I did. Very much so. So, whatever. Hey, Johnson. I'm like, oh, I really can't even say no to that. Yeah, that's my last name.
Right? It's
okay.
like, you have to respond.
It's so terrible. So, here we are. It's 2019. I think the last time I saw you might have been 2013, 14, maybe.
Shut the front door. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Shut the front motherfucking door.
This is back when we used to do the radio show out of Evan's basement. You remember that?
Of course I remember that.
That was the shit.
I was trying to be like the fucking emperor of that shit.
Yes.
I was like, we gonna have a meeting every week and we're gonna market.
Yes.
And I didn't know what I was talking about, but y'all listened, so
it was a good time. I had a great time.
It was a great time.
Whatever Lana said at that time, we all just was like, okay, lock, step, and key. I got you.
Nodded and smiled. You know?
Baby.
That was a great time.
A lot of creativity was happening at that time.
So you were on the show with Billy.
I was on the show with Billy. Shout out to Billy Gilbert. Shout out to DJ Pin.
Billy G.
Yes.
DJ Pin.
They've been on the show before. Shout out to them, man. Yes, we were on. We had Real Biz. Shout out to Danielle.
Right, Real Biz Radio.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to Danielle. Oh my God, Billy got children. Danielle got a children.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, y'all are just over here adulting and shit.
Me and Penn are like, nah, not yet, Holmes.
I don't get it.
Even you too. I was like, I'm not with it. I'm good. Kind of
Oh my
okay.
God.
I'm okay.
Pregnancy is my worst nightmare. I'm like, for many reasons.
Pregnancy is yes.
One day.
One day.
Maybe.
One day.
We'll see.
Little Lana's running around. Scary world.
No.
It'll be a scary world. You ready for that life? You might choke. Wait, listen here, little girl. Say it again. Say it again.
Maybe some wisecracking. I don't know. But you know what? Whatever. We'll see.
You ready for the pop back? You might have to just deal with them at that point.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're going to make a great mom.
Aw.
When it comes down to it. You're going to make a great mom.
You'll make a great zaddy.
Thank you.
Yes.
In this business, you go from, we met while you were trying to be in the business that time. You were moving. You were trying to do your thing at that time. We were doing it more on a small scale, but Breakfast Club had just started. Everybody was just like, yo, we got to get out there. Everybody getting out there. At that time, what was your mindset at that time? We were taking it way back then. What was going on back then, yo?
Well, back then, I mean, I was working. I was working for an SEO company at the time. So while I would be at work, I would be like, planning my radio show. Like that's kind of what I did. You know what I mean? Like cheating on the job with my dreams and shit.
What job were you working? What was your full 9 to 5?
I was doing reception and copywriting.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. for this company.
This is after college because I think you went to Rutgers, didn't you say you went to Rutgers?
Yes, I went to Rutgers.
Yeah.
I went to Rutgers. I had interned for Sirius. I had interned for Z100 and had my own show at Rutgers for a hot minute. Even after I graduated, we still had a show, and that was like what made me like fall in love with radio,
right.
If you will.
If you hear the air conditioner, anything in the background, just deal with it. Today we're in the studio, but it's just too hot to turn off the AC today. So go ahead.
Brian's just protecting himself from my uncontrollable perspiration. That is what would tran and perspire.
We got to throw towels at her at this point. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we good. It's for the best. So yeah, I had been doing radio, and I just wanted to keep doing it. I wanted to keep doing it. Obviously I had these like huge ambitions for where these shows could go. All of us, TTVR as a collective. I thought I was like, Evan's Basement, I had never seen anything like that in someone's house.
It was amazing. I still to this day give him all the due. I've never seen anything like that before. To this day, I've still
flabbergasted. My man had if you see pictures from which you should post along with whatever marketing you're gonna do for this. If you see pictures of this studio, you would not think that was in somebody's basement.
No, you would not.
So legit, like that just blew my mind because, I didn't go to school for like radio or anything like that.
I didn't either.
Like,
nope. I went to communications, but I definitely didn't do that.
So to see something like that, was just I was flabbergasted, and I was like, oh, we're gonna take this shit to the next level. This shit's gonna pop off.
Right.
And he's just so talented as a producer and clearly he's talented with construction and shit too. I'm like, man, what can't you do? You know?
He's one of those few people that no matter what he gets his hands into, he's gonna do it big.
Yeah.
And he's not one of those people that puts himself out there like, look at me. No, he just gets it done and be like, hey, you see it's done. Okay, can we do business? I like that kind of thing about him.
Yeah, he's so
very humble
and subtle.
Yeah, man.
With his shit. Yeah, but my mindset, I just wanted TTVR to be like the shit. I wanted us to go to the level of having, celebrity guests, and I wanted, that was my vision and mindset at the time.
Back then, I could tell because you were dead serious about getting things done. Like it was dead serious, and you were young at that time. It wasn't like you were like.
I'm all saggy and decrepit now.
It wasn't like you. It wasn't like you were like on your last string, and I'm trying. This is my last hope. You were like fresh out. Like you had that exuberance that you never left you. I always see that you always have that exuberance for life, period, and getting things done. Like you're always like, look, I'm gonna get something here, and I'm gonna get something done. Growing up, were you always like that? Very like I'm gonna get something done, or you were always like very outgoing, or was it more like that kind of came after you left school and got into after you left high school and got into college and stuff like that?
Well, I'm a little bit of an anomaly because growing up, I think that I am a very introverted extrovert. Because as outgoing as I am, like I love to isolate. Like I love to be by myself and just like read and write and I don't know. There's also generally not the best place for me to be. Like I am better when I'm vibing with people and feeding off of other people's energy. But it's honestly a little bit of a vice that I have is to isolate. But in terms of, I was a perfectionist. I was an overachiever. I was a straight A student. But even though people, I would get that praise and applause.
Yeah.
I was overcompensating for like not feeling like I was enough.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
You know what I mean? And I it was very important for me to fulfill and exceed other people's expectations.
Big facts.
For me.
Right.
So, and especially as a youth, I had a lot of identity issues. You know what I mean? Because I grew up in Manhattan. I grew up on the Upper East Side. My joke is that growing up, I didn't know that I wasn't white. Like, that's my joke. I didn't know. I thought everyone was white. I knew some of us were darker than others.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
thought, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, that's what I thought.
Right.
So, when I learned, and I thought, my grandma speaking Spanish, that shit was just a special skill. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I didn't know. I didn't understand it, really.
Right.
I just knew some people spoke differently, like, whatever. So, upon going from my school that I grew up, it was a small school. There were a few minorities, if you will, POCs
I got you.
in my grade. A decent amount actually for that time. But then the school that I went to my freshman year of high school was white. And for the first time, I kind of experienced. I was the only girl from my 8th grade that went to that school. It was a very small private school. There was 53 girls in my grade.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, very prestigious school. Yeah. And, I felt like I had to go there because, like, if I didn't do the best, if I got into the best, I had to do the best. And the best generally meant, like, the most expensive at the time, unfortunately. But anyway, so, like, I had curly hair. I was the only girl in my grade that had super curly hair. And I would rock Jordans to school because we could wear sneakers and wear my hoop earrings. And, like, the other girls would be like, oh, my God, like, Alana, you're so ghetto with your Jordans and your hoops.
They called you ghetto?
Yes. And I'm like...
Fuck out of here. Seriously?
And I'd be like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being ghetto, but with all due... Like, I grew up on Park Avenue. You know what I mean? And I don't say that, like, that's just a fact. That's not... You know what I mean? At the same time, I was going to visit my grandparents in the projects. So, this like...
She had a strange dichotomy.
Worlds, these two worlds. And the classification and, like, I guess prejudice, if you will. Like, I had never experienced that before.
It was a wake-up call.
Know?
Culture shock kind of in a way.
Yeah, and I was like, so I'm different. So I'm supposed to be one kind of way.
Right.
But I began to feel like I didn't fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
I wasn't white enough. I wasn't black enough. I wasn't Latina enough.
Yo,
I
know. Strangely, you might say, I know how that feels.
Yeah.
Being that I'm a light-skinned male and stuff like that, I like kind of grew up sort of like, it was kind of weird. A lot of my friends, a lot of people I knew had their mom and their dad. And that was their family unit. I grew up with my grandparents. I didn't grow up but I could relate more to for some reason I could relate more to the kids who came from New York who went to my high school than I could relate to the kids that were in my immediate people that were in Teaneck and everything else. But I was like either I was not hard enough to be with the hard kids who had rough lives, or I was a little too hood to be with these kids who, their parents took them to baseball practice and stuff like that. I didn't go to baseball practice. My baseball practice was the sandlot down the block from my house. So it was like, I understand that kind of world because you necessarily don't fit in this spot, but you necessarily don't fit over there either.
Right. So it's interesting. I mean, this is just all going to say that, like, in terms of, like, achieving, like, being an overachiever, I was compensating for not feeling like I had an identity, that I had a self. You know what I mean? And just, like, trying to fulfill what everybody else expected. So, yeah, in saying that, like, I grew up a little bit privileged. Like, that... I mean,
that goes without saying. I understand it.
Yeah, I still have, so much abundance in my life, and I'm so grateful for what I do have. Circumstances did change a little bit, but I honestly, like, felt guilty for that. Like, I had this guilt, like, not everybody that I look like is living like me.
Right.
It's weird. It's just it's a hard feeling to articulate. You know what I mean? But it's something that I always kind of felt.
Felt down. You feel it in your gut.
Especially
strange.
being around other people of color when they
Yeah.
would find out like
Yeah.
where I lived or whatever, they would look at me differently. This one guy that I worked at a restaurant called me Nunu
Right.
from ATL.
Okay.
Remember Lauren London's character?
Yes.
She was wealthy, but
Right.
she would, she would chill in the hood.
Yeah.
And try to camouflage. Yeah, so
You felt like that.
that's what somebody labeled me. Somebody
Oh,
called me that.
oh, wow.
When I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, whatever. So just a whole lot of like, oh, who am I? Where do I fit in?
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to be like? I fell a lot into, what like again, expectations of how to fit in a box.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Did you have family expectations too from your family, with like kind of like an expectation for you to be a certain way too, or they kind of like let you be who you were at that moment?
My father was very, he was never pleased. Never pleased. If I got an A, he'd ask me why it wasn't an A+.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly comparing me to people that or telling me that I should be like this person, I should be like that
You're
person.
the oldest?
I'm the youngest.
Youngest.
Yeah.
So even more pressure.
I mean, my brother had it worse because my brother, I was a great student,
Right.
but, and my brother wasn't. I mean, he's definitely more successful conventionally today, but, like, school to me, I just whatever. I made it a much bigger deal than it needed to be in hindsight. But, yeah, so there was pressure to succeed and exceed.
I got you.
And excel
Right.
from my dad,
Did that kind of pressure kind of like help you down the road in life to deal with pressure of succeeding and being able to achieve that task in life?
Honestly, I think it ultimately became a destructive thing for me because after a certain point, I had pushed myself so hard that like I had nothing left, right? Like I felt, I don't know. I was just uncomfortable all the time, and I just always felt like I wasn't enough. I always felt less than. You know what I mean?
I know that feeling too. I completely relate. I can understand that feeling of not feeling like you're good enough. Like you think you like, because sometimes you just feel like, okay, if Susie and Joe over here are doing the most and they're getting these kind of grades and stuff like that, and I'm over here with Rob and Tom over here, and me and Rob and Tom are only doing but so much, you start to feel a little insecure because they're doing great and you're just not reaching up to that part. Did you ever have that, like, because I suggest that being in that small group of women, like 53 of you guys and stuff like that?
That was just my freshman year. Then I moved to, then I went to Paramus Catholic, which was a vacation in comparison. I'm not even lying. A vacation in comparison to the schools that I went to in
That
New York.
comparison level, I think, had to change once you went to Paramus, I'm guessing.
Well, the beauty of Paramus Catholic was that there was a huge student body, and there were so many people from so many different walks of life, and different different ethnicities.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was the first time that I was around a large group of Latinas or a large group of women of color.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you could be a little bit more. You could were able to let your hair down, I guess you could say, a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I really am grateful for that experience in going there. Granted, academically, it was not comparable to where I went before. But I joined the STEP team. I was on the STEP team. We was on BET twice. Okay, I would have never experienced that if it wasn't for PC. And I definitely let my hair down, probably a little too low to the ground at some points. But yeah, so I'm grateful for that. For that chapter.
Good. And that chapter, I guess, that took you to Rutgers, and then you went through Rutgers, and you got this little bit of a taste of creativity because you went and started with the radio station and everything. And that's a whole different thing. Like most people, when they go to college, they're away from their parents. I just want to party, chill, do a little homework, pass some schools, and get an internship. That's pretty much what people want to do when they go to college.
Yeah.
Some people don't journey into anything creative, even if it's like photography or writing or drawing. But you went into talk radio in a way, and you went into the radio thing. Did you always have a knack for talking and speaking and being out there a little bit right then and there? I guess then at that point you started developing it while you were at Paramus at PC.
and then you get here.
Well, even before that, I was adept at speaking in front of people, performing in front of people. I mean, I was a competitive figure skater as a child.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like I love, like
so
that.
competitiveness was there already.
Yeah.
You have to be competitive and creative.
Absolutely. So that, in terms of just being in front of people by myself, like that's something that I did at a very young age. And as in terms of speaking in front of people, like I did that in grammar school. I was a school president. I was a valedictorian. I was giving speeches, when I was like 12 years old or whatever, 13. So yeah, public speaking was something like I always felt comfortable doing. Honestly, when I got into the radio thing, it was just like, on one of the campuses at Rutgers, they would have all these tables of like extracurriculars that you can get involved with on campus, and that was just one that drew my eye.
What year was this around?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't start until my junior year. The summer going into my senior year, actually. So it took me a while to actually execute. But like the seed had been planted. I was also on a dance team and stuff, and like involved in so many other organizations.
You were
on
out
campus.
there. You were going for the gusto at that point.
Yeah, but like honestly, like people knew who I was on campus.
How was it for you personally, like dating, hanging out? Was it rough for you to do that, or you just kind of like was in this framework? You just stayed in this framework. You didn't really journey too far out of it.
Well, when I was at Rutgers, I like dated I had two BFs, if you will, two boyfriends. One of which was like my high school boyfriend that we like got back together or whatever. And then another was someone who I'm like still friends with today.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are friends with their exes from college. I tell you that.
Yeah.
Real shit. High school.
I mean, we didn't date for that long, but
so, yeah, well, it is what it is. It's still dated. You know, it's time.
And what were you gonna say? Sorry.
No. I was gonna say it takes.
I partied my ass off too.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. I know you partied your ass off because it was Rutgers.
Listen.
I was there. I know. I wasn't right there. I think I stopped going to Rutgers around the same time. You probably were like a freshman there.
Oh, you went to Rutgers?
No. I wasn't. I was there all the time.
You would party.
My friends were there. Like they were like I was couch surfing at Rutgers for like a good 2 weeks, and I didn't even go back to my own school to go to class. So things like that would happen.
Right.
You know, because Rutgers is such a big place. People stay there, they don't even go to the school.
Right. Oh my God, those parties. Yo, but it would get wild. Like one of my friends got punched in a woman for a female friend was punched in the face by a local.
Damn.
A man. Okay? At a Halloween party because she didn't want to dance with him. That shit, we spent that Halloween in the hospital with her.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it was wild. So
nuts.
that it did get, I had some close calls when I was under the influence at Rutgers. I mean, thereafter as well. We can get into that in a little bit if you want. But yeah, so it was very interesting because I went hard. Like I went partying.
Right.
I went like the semester that I partied the hardest was the only semester I got a 4.0. So
holy shit.
Yeah, I had this like duality. You know what I mean?
How many hours of sleep you getting? Like 3 hours of sleep regularly? Like,
well, I remember there were some nights that I stayed up all night getting fucked up and went to take an exam and got like a 90.
Fucking woman genius over here. Right now.
That's not healthy. Like that's not.
We're not promoting that. We're not promoting that. Let's just be clear. We're not promoting that. But
I'm just letting you know, like it's literally insane. Is what it is.
Yes.
It's not healthy. It's insane. And that was how I got through college. To be honest.
When you left college and you came back and we did what we did and you went to you worked in New York. Am I correct? You were working in New York.
Yeah.
Did you start to travel into that after work life? Like the 5:30 to 8 o'clock life, like the after work party life? Because what year was this around? Like 2012?
For after college or when we met?
No, around the time when you were working in New York after college and everything.
Well, my first job after college was actually working for the Maury Show, the Maury Povich Show.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there very briefly because it was too time consuming and I wanted to get fucked up. So I was like, nah, I'm good.
My life.
Y'all are fucking me up, so I gotta go. But I learned a lot. Actually, the woman that I do my web series with, we met there.
Oh, so you knew her for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So at that point, not really, because I really didn't have time. But when we met, so that was like the year after Maury.
Yeah.
I had the job and I don't know if it was before TTVR or maybe slightly after TTVR, but I joined that all women hip hop blog, Strawberry Blunt.
I remember Strawberry Blunt.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you're
know.
taking me way back. I think I just started
Shout
my
out
blog.
to Strawberry Blunt.
Wow.
Yeah, we
Take-
were a movement. Like, yo, anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so Strawberry Blunt, and we would throw events.
Right.
Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, I would just show up to the events and rep SB. Like, if I'm being honest, I really took no part in the business side of that whole situation. But we would show up. That was part of what we did. So in a way, yeah, that was what I would do after work.
So that was life for you at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was life.
Yeah.
Did you at that point in time? What kind of in the business wise were you thinking creatively? We're like, okay, so we wanted to do the radio thing. That was already established. But as we'll talk about later on, like you've grown into so many other different things, in other directions.
Girl.
Guy.
I know you're not a girl.
Like damn.
Girl.
Chaos right there. That was chaos.
Yeah. Okay, if I'm being completely honest, I was just at a place where whenever I didn't have something creative in my life,
Yeah.
it was a very dark place for me. I just knew that I needed to do something, have some sort of vehicle for self-expression.
Were you think at that time, were you like more motivated by things, or do you think what you were more focused on what inspired you? Did you know the difference at that point, or you think you were just going with whatever was working at that moment for you?
I honestly, I really don't remember what my mindset was. I just remembered the feelings of, feeling like I was empty when I didn't have something creative going on.
I know what that feeling feels like too.
And for me, it's not even like a hobby. It's like it's not a hobby. I do it for survival, because if I don't have that, it's not going to be good for me, So at that time in particular, I think I wanted a community. I loved that it was an all women movement. I'm very much about women empowerment, feminism, all that stuff. So I was really, really drawn to that. Then that disbanded. So I was like, okay, now what's next? So, I mean, I think this whole time, if I'm being honest, I've just been discovering my voice and deciding who I want to be. And it's been it's still what I'm doing,
Yes.
It's been a very slow, painfully slow
Journey.
process and
Trusting
journey.
the process.
I don't like processes. I want to go to the gym for 6 hours and get a fucking six pack. That's what I want. I don't like processes. But for whatever reason, probably for that exact reason, like this is the path that God, the universe, whatever greater force you believe in, this is the journey that I've been on. So yeah, it's just been exploring and learning who I am and what I'm capable of, and yeah.
Creatively, I've noticed that you've always brought the energy that people will gravitate towards, because you come into a room, it's like boom, 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 like you're out here.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Thank you.
And it's not a ego filling room. It's just the energy. Some people it's more their ego that's filling up a room. People it's kind of like but you don't have that. You don't come off as that.
Thank you.
Was there ever a point like where you started to feel like you were on a hamster wheel, and that you were beginning to lose sight of who Lana was?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, that's what got me into sobriety. Because I fell into this, and I think it happened. I mean, not that it happened, right? Like I know, I'm aware today that I cannot consume alcohol or anything else for that matter like a normal person. I don't understand people that can drink one glass of wine and even leave 2 sips. Like I just don't understand. Like when I used to party to get annihilated. Like if I wasn't, what was the point? So yes, I do feel like I got to that point, and I had been at that point for some time.
So it was like, so when you say sober, so you're speaking of, we're not talking any drugs. Earlier, I think earlier I was like, yo, you want some weed? And you were just like,
wait,
nah.
no. We need to retell that story, because I got into the car. This is how long it's been. Well, I've been sober for 2 years and 2 months at this point. Yes,
Right.
I keep motherfucking count, because this shit is not easy.
No.
It's not. So we get into the car. I get into the car, and I'm like, Brian, I need to make a stop. He's like, oh, I know, you need some weed. And I'm like,
people make a stop. People say make a stop. That's not really what they talk about. We're
No.
gonna get some weed. Oh, all right, cool.
I'm like, it's funny. It's so funny. Like it was so refreshing. That joke was very, very refreshing.
Good.
But no, I meant coffee. So. Yeah, nothing. No mind-altering substances, no alcohol.
Cool.
The only thing really is coffee.
Coffee is a thing. People will love coffee.
Right. I think that I want to get rid of that at some point too, but listen, not today. So yeah, that's when I will say that I was on a hamster wheel, that I was doing the same thing over and over again. Just trying to escape, because and I think it got really bad. Or it started to get really bad after I lost my dad.
Right. I was going to talk. I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up or not, but I know you had lost your father and how it affected you. Because I know I lost my dad when I was 16.
Yeah.
So I know how it feels to lose your parental unit, but especially lose your father. And I don't know what it's like as a woman to lose their father, because it's different. You know, a woman's connection with a father is a much different thing than a son with a father. And when you lose that piece of you, a piece of you goes with that person.
Absolutely.
I don't think people really realize how much of a piece of you goes, but a piece of you goes with that person. Did you feel like there was a hole after you passed, and you were just like, I got to fill it up with this?
Absolutely. Honestly, the crazy thing that happened, or like the feeling that I experienced was, because going back to doing what people expected of me. Like, my dad was the primary example of that. I believe a lot of families grow up with, the mantra, okay, do what your dad says, listen to your dad, listen to your dad, listen to your dad. And I just, I felt like I was responsible for my father's happiness.
Gotcha.
It was my responsibility to make him proud. That was my purpose.
Did you feel like it was wrong at that time, or you think you were just going with the flow at that moment?
Well, in retrospect,
that's what I'm saying. In retrospect,
knowing what I know about him today, I think that it was wrong only because, one, you should never live your life for anybody but yourself. That's a one-way ticket to resentment.
Speak on it.
Right.
That's real shit there.
Yeah.
It's big facts.
I still have waves of like, why the fuck did why couldn't I just have been a human being that thought for myself at that time?
Yes.
But you know what? It is what it is. The past is perfect. It can't be changed. So, yes, it's a one-way ticket to resentment to live your life for somebody else. And also, my father also struggled with substance abuse.
Yeah.
And that, if you are, people that deal with substance abuse who don't seek help, who don't recognize that they need to change, and that their behavior affects everyone around them, you can't make those people happy because they're not happy with themselves. And mind you, at the time, my dad wasn't like doing anything crazy like he did growing up, but it was painkillers,
Right.
Like my dad was taking Oxy for a headache. Like, that's not normal. You
no,
know what I mean?
that's not even real.
So and that was normal to me because growing up, I saw all the pill bottles in Daddy's cabinet. Like, you know what I mean?
I think we also I saw pill bottles in my mom's and my grandmother's places. I would see those things, and you think it's just normal. Like, they would have the pill bottles just there, and sometimes if they would take the pill bottles out and put other pills in them, and it's not even the pills that was described on the bottle, and you're just like, okay. You just think it's normal because it's there. It's happening,
Right. So he definitely self-medicated, and so yeah, it's just you can't. Those people that don't know how to, and I hate to say it, but like, love themselves.
Love yourself, yes. Self-love is something that you really got to get into.
Right.
You got to throw yourself into it. You can't just say, I need to do more for myself. No, you just got to go and do it.
Right.
Did your darkest times was when you were in that mist of that haze of substance abuse?
Yes.
It was just alcohol, or were you using other drugs to just kind of like numb yourself out?
Other things. And that, honestly, that started in college.
Right.
And before, like weed, whatever, like that started in high school, but like other things.
The other things.
Things.
Back then, I think it was like it was ecstasy, Molly, all that kind of stuff was just starting to phase into the people just pill popping regularly. Lean had not touched the scene yet, as I like to say, but it came later on. When you started to pull yourself back and started to look at yourself? I know you had said one time, I know you didn't like the person you were looking at sometimes.
I told you that?
You told
Back
me
then?
back then, way back.
Really?
You were like, sometimes I don't like the way I look and like the way I feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is one time, because we hung out one time, we talked about doing some other stuff. We had met at the pizza shop down in Edgewater. I remember you telling me that. And I remember you told me that, and I said to myself, what? Like, for y'all who don't know, Lana's a very beautiful woman. But she's also very, like, you could just tell, like, she is who she is. And you like, who's this person who's very much giving her full self, says she doesn't always like who she was. And I always took it as like, damn, see, that right there was wake-up call for me, because it made me realize, like, there's just some things that are so hazy you can't see. And no matter how clear I thought I was on you, I honestly didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And then when I finally, like, thought back on it, you know, kind of towards the time when I was reaching out to you about this, I was like, you know, she was right. She didn't like herself at that time. She had to reinvent and change herself too. Yeah. And I said to myself, I experienced that myself too. I've gone through that. I had to reinvent myself a bunch of times. Like, who's fucking going to become a photographer at 37 years old? But I did.
Get it.
Sometimes you just got to do it. But
30's a new 20, boo. You're 27. FOH. Okay.
You got to.
Yeah.
It's when you decide to make those changes.
Yeah.
How did the people around you? What kind of people were you around at the time when you were about to make these changes? Were you surrounded by people who were supportive, or were you in a very shaky spot?
Well, when I made the decision that it was time to get out of my own way, I was in a place where the only people really that I could reach out to were people I would get high with, get drunk with, or who would give me drugs, and I'd feel obligated to sleep with them.
Wow.
Like, that's
just crazy,
that's
B.
real talk.
Yeah.
Like, that. Those were my options. Those were the people most accessible to me.
I got you.
So it was basically just people with whom I would hurt myself with.
So you're basically in a sphere of negativity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling too.
So, you know, I did have other people that I wasn't as close to. Like, it's amazing because, you know, God was just putting these people in my life that were sober. Like, that people just kept appearing that I would learn were sober. And they were people that, you know, I wanted what they had. I wanted to be like them. I just, you know, I was too afraid. It's interesting because leading up until the point where I did get sober, I would often go to bars. These are the lies that I told myself. I would go to bars with my notebook, drink countless whiskeys, and write poetry basically about how I was an alcoholic. You know, and I thought
so whiskey was fueling you talking about what you shouldn't be doing in a poem. That's nuts.
And I thought I was so fucking deep. I thought I was deep. I was like, I'm an artist. I'm a poet.
That happens with a lot of artists. That's the artist ego right there.
I'm
That's
at the
artist
bar.
ego.
Dolo. I'm a lone wolf.
Yeah.
But no, I was isolating.
Mm-hmm.
And you know it's interesting because the people that are closest to me or that were closest to me, as a child, really, in high school, one of which, the girl that I was talking about when I got here, shout out to Marianne, who we want to do basically exactly what you and your friend are doing, which is like God to me. You know, when I talk to her about my stuff, she'd be like, it's crazy because, like, and the same thing that you said, like, you nobody would have thought that you had a problem. And I'd be like, yeah, because the things that I would do by myself or with strangers that I knew I would never see again, or, you know, that I would hope I'd never see again.
So you have to know
like
that
my
no
dirtiest
judgment is
secrets,
there.
Right. My dirtiest, you know, my greatest skeletons, if you will, my most cracked, shattered skeletons, like, those are things that only I know, and, you know, people that were in the same despair that I was in.
Sometimes you go to these places because they're not judging you. They don't got no eyes on you. They don't know you from Adam, so they gonna do the dirt with you. They don't give a shit.
Right.
And sometimes I always see people. People are more afraid about what their peers will think of them than the stranger in the street. And
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
And people will go and do anything with a stranger before they do it with their peers.
Yeah.
God forbid someone from high school I graduated with has an opinion about me that's negative. Like, oh my God, no, I'm I'm a good person. I'm doing my thing. You should admire me, not not look down upon me.
Yeah.
Did you that fear of being put in that place, and you finally deciding that I'm gonna shut this up? Did that play a part in you, in the good things that I saw coming, like you becoming a comedian?
Mm-hmm.
You taking
1,000%.
and you now acting, which I always thought the acting thing was gonna come anyway. That was a go, but now you're taking it there. But then you start something with your homegirl that just has legs of its own, and it just grew. Did that come around that time, or how did that shape up? How did that even come about?
So, Two Grown, actually, that baby was conceived before I cleaned up.
Okay. Okay.
That was something, because I had started acting around that time.
Yes.
Because I had went back to waiting tables because I didn't know what else to do with my life, and also waiting tables is a great way to mask being an alcoholic.
I must say, I can tell you this much: your social media presence grew.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not popping on social media like that. I don't know. I have a
you have a love-hate
relation. Yeah,
because I'd say it grew because all of a sudden you just began to attract. I saw that attraction. People would start coming to what you were doing and showing love to what you were doing, and it started growing. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because it can make you very insecure, but two, it can help you out business-wise. People like to see numbers on social media.
Right.
So, but this Two Grown girl.
Yeah. So, pardon me, sorry. Two Grown, basically my friend Jordan and I, we got together one day just to catch up. She's the one that I work with at Maury. And, she had been acting, I had been acting, and I was like, yo, I really just want to do something. I want to make something of my own.
Right.
You know, but I know I can't do it alone.
Yes.
Or at least at the time I couldn't, I did, I did not have the tools for that.
Did you ever think about starting a YouTube channel or starting a vlog or anything like that?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I did put a few vlogs up back in the day.
Shit, I got.
And then I was like, this shit is stupid. Why am I doing this shit? You know what I mean? Like, this shit
Did
is
you have
dumb.
a Casey Neistat thought? Where like, I don't know. Casey Neistat was doing his thing back then too.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know Casey Neistat?
I don't know. Brian, I don't know shit. I don't know nobody. I don't know nothing.
I need to take a drink. Okay, continue.
Take a swig of that water.
It's
that
water,
H2.
everybody. Go ahead.
So, anyway, we got together, and we just brainstormed like the kind of stories that we wanted to tell, the kind of things that we wanted to do, and we didn't have it. Like, we had a schedule for a day, or we had scheduled a day to shoot a teaser, just a teaser.
All right.
Just a teaser.
Just a teaser. Nothing big.
It wasn't like we were shooting episodes and putting a teaser together. We were like, no, we're just going to shoot a bunch of random scenes.
Fire.
And basically, like, we kind of reverse engineered, right? We're like, we're going to put a teaser out there of little snippets of things that we want to see come to fruition on the show, and see, how people react to it. It didn't have a name yet, at the same time, we basically texted each other the same name. I'm not even kidding.
That's God's work right there, man.
Yeah.
That's God's work right there, sending you down
I was
a message.
like, I was smoking a blunt, oddly enough. And I was like, what about grown? And I texted her and I was like, like girl, you too grown for that. And she screenshotted me like a list that she had been making, and Too Grown was on that list.
Well.
Anyway, so yeah, and that's how it happened, and I love the name. I think we're geniuses. And yeah, we write it, we direct it, we produce it.
It's a labor of love, man, because it's very dope.
Thank you.
It's very dope. And it caught wildfire a little bit right there.
I mean, yeah, we did the first season all on our own. We really didn't know what we had an inkling of what we were doing, but we didn't know exactly what we were doing. And we just slowly, gradually put episodes out and filmed episodes and put more episodes out. I did get sober in the middle of that. Like the last 2 episodes of the first season, it was time. And then the second season, we wound up working with BET Digital for.
That's crazy when you have that moment and things begin to switch, and you're like, yo, I gotta make a switch.
Yeah.
Was it one defining moment, or was it just a collective?
For which, sorry,
for you to make that switch to being like, I'm focusing more on my sobriety and my health and training and taking better care of myself.
Was it one thing, or was it an accumulation of things?
Accumulation of things, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just, I just knew. I was like, if I keep living like this, I'm never going to be who I say I want to be.
Yes.
And I might die.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple.
Pain, that pain never goes away, but you got to be able to figure out a way to manage it, live with it.
Right.
Now, you got into acting, directing, writing. How was that experience? That must have been like an incredible amount of energy expensed into doing that.
Yeah.
How did that process work for you? Was it like the most? It probably was one of the most cherished times of your life. From what I could see online, from what I saw from IG and everything, because that's where I could see it all coming.
Right.
I could see you were loving it. I remember you hit me up one day, like, "Yo, what's Crump's number? I need to speak to Crump." And it was just like, wow, because it was like, the energy was just there right off the text.
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm moving right now. What's Crump number? I need to get that right now.
Yeah.
When you're in that motion, you're moving, you're getting things done. It's one of the best feelings in the world. What kind of things were you starting to build around you at that time? Were you making new friends? Were you growing into different relationships? How was that going?
Well, the beauty of Too Grown is that everyone involved in the project, we pulled from our own networks. I had gone to an acting studio, and the majority of the actors in the whole series thus far, were from my, studio friends.
Yes.
And from the classes she had taken.
Right.
From those people. So, those relationships were already there. And actors, if you're a good person and people believe in what you're doing, people will be incredibly generous with their time.
People have been generous with this podcast, so I totally get what you're saying. People have been generous to come on, and I'm like, damn, people really gonna do this. This is dope.
Especially actors, I don't want to say real actors, but actors without ego, if you will.
Actors without ego. That's a T-shirt.
Right. They want to work for the sake of being better. They want to, it's not always about what's in it for them. It's just about showing up and, being able to do what they love for the day.
I think that's amazing.
It is. I mean, actors are some of the most incredible and insane people on the planet, and I love it. I love it.
That's your tribe.
Yeah.
That's your tribe. We all have to have our tribe.
Yeah.
Tribes are not based upon religion, color, nothing like that. It's based upon who has the same kind of mindset that you do, and do you guys feel comfortable around each other.
Yeah.
I think it's really dope that you found your tribe. Wherever it takes you from this point on, I just think it's dope that you found your tribe. Now, in that situation, you and Jordan, that's your ace. You guys are in this business together. You guys make your way on the BET, which I think is incredible.
Thank you.
How was that, and how did you guys find out that you were going to be on BET? How did that come about?
Well, simple. It's really a simple story. Jordan had this relationship with the guy that actually became our executive producer, and they had met in an event, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. They had a connection, and we started putting out content for Too Grown, and he reached out to her while he was working for a different organization, saying that he wanted to bring us in and potentially talk about getting Too Grown onto that platform and potentially being writers for another show. So that fell through.
Gotcha.
That fell through because ultimately he wound up leaving there. And he went from there to BET, reached out to us again, I think maybe after we put out the last episode.
So we had a little bit of an issue. They had a little battery issue.
They don't need to know that.
They know now. They I try to keep it real with my audience.
To buy some more batteries.
But hey, we were talking about at the very end. We were talking about before we had a little interruption. Recharged. You were talking about the structure and how that changed. Once BET got into the business.
Yeah.
And
the rules.
The rules. That changeover of having rules coming from a spot where you guys were kind of running roughshod with it and everything.
Doing whatever we wanted,
Doing everything you wanted. How was it, now that you're going to be in the structured situation, how was the plan out? How was the rollout supposed to be for it? Like, now we're going to be rolling out on this new platform, and how did that work digitally for you guys?
Well, we kind of, it wasn't really up to us. The release and all that wasn't up to us. we kind of just waited patiently to find out when things were going to start being released, which took some time. We wrapped in November. I want to say everything was edited by January, all 8 episodes. And yeah, at that point, we were just like, okay, just waiting for what to do next. And we would keep tabs with our executive producer, and, until finally he was like, all right, May. We're like, I bet. So
during that time, were you working? Because you are a person who has multiple talents.
Girl.
Girl. He keeps calling me girl. I'm like, yo, fam, do I sound like a Jesus? Anyway, you were working on you were working on comedy. You were also working on fitness training.
Wait, during what time? I've done a lot of things, Brian. I'm exhausted. I'm fucking exhausted.
I'm trying to keep it in a chronological order so I don't lose my audience.
That's why I need this right here latte. So wait, at the time that we were filming, no, I was working at a rooftop bar at the time. I was studying to get my certification for personal training. By the time we wrapped, I actually took my test maybe like a week or 2 after we wrapped. So I got certified immediately after, and I've been doing that since. If you mentioned comedy, so just to back it up, because she does a lot of things. I'm telling you, like this has been a huge. The past since I got sober, really has been a huge
growth.
Yes, for sure, growth, but exploratory, exploratory phase, right? I tried so many new things. I've done so many new things, and I am finding that I am gifted in so many more areas, which is amazing, but also really fucking overwhelming.
Right.
As you can see, because I ran out of breath. So I started. All right, the first new endeavor that I started was I'm on a hip hop improv team. I started doing hip hop improv, which is basically long form improvised comedy, hybrided with freestyle rapping with a beatboxer. So we rap in character.
Okay.
It's an all women team.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's real. So it's basically. If Wildin' Out and Whose Line Is It Anyway had a baby. It's basically that, except it's long form. So I started doing that, which is amazing because I've always loved music. I've always loved to sing. I've always loved to rhyme, not necessarily because of hip-hop. I love hip-hop. Don't get it twisted. It was at the source for a minute.
Yes.
Anyway, whatever. So, but really because I loved Shakespeare as a kid.
Okay.
Like that was where my affinity for
You like creative
words.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
which is very, very, very dope.
Yeah. So I started doing that simultaneously. Then I got into doing stand-up. That's like the newest tool in my tool belt. And
what brought you to stand-up? Like, what got you to stand-up? Stand-up is an interesting thing. That's an interesting turn.
Yeah.
I know you love the stage. That's something that I do know.
Yeah. So stand-up, I got into why do you say that? I'm curious. Why does that seem off like an interesting turn to you? Just because you know me.
Yeah, I know you. I just didn't expect you to be going in that direction. I thought you'd go more like I'm trying to be on Broadway kind of situation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I thought you'd go for more like the more acting on, like maybe you want to get on Jersey Boys or something of that nature. Something of a more of a traditional kind of play kind of situation. Not jumping on stage and being up there and then trying to control the crowd and spitting out jokes. I didn't take it as that. Like
okay.
You're not. I'm not saying that you're not a funny person, but I just don't see that. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you did it, and I'm like, oh, okay, pop up right there.
Yeah. So I think what drew me to stand up is the fact that honesty. Honesty is what drew me to stand up. It's interesting because, Dave Chappelle, and I didn't see Will Smith's first stand-up performance, but Will Smith just did stand-up for the first time recently. I guess he does that like bucket list show or whatever that he does on Facebook Watch. I haven't seen much of it, but I did see a clip of him talking to Dave Chappelle, like getting mentorship for his first stand-up performance. And what Chappelle said was, as a comedian, you don't always have to be funny. You just always have to be interesting.
Yes.
And
that's big truth.
Right.
That's a big truth.
I mean, I think I'm an interesting person. I also think that I have a knack for storytelling, and I think that I have a knack for, especially now, honesty. Like the truth is what's funny. Comedians say shit. Obviously, they phrase things in a creative way, but basically, I think the most relatable and talented comedians, they basically articulate thoughts that people have on a regular ass basis that are just not appropriate to say out loud, to the public.
But you're also a very blunt person too, so that kind of helps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that helps.
So-
that helps.
Yeah, you know, I mean, again, it's been a very much an exploratory phase. I love stand up. I do. I it's one of the best feelings in the world to get off stage from a stand up set, even when it doesn't go as well as I'd like it to. It's not. It's and this is why, you know, Will Smith took so long to do it for the first time. I think it's the hardest art form because with stand up, you get on stage, it's you, a microphone, and a crowd that has an expectation for you to be funny.
Big facts. And if they're waiting on you. You really got to control the crowd. It's really
Right.
like it's up to you now. It's all on you. If you don't
Right.
perform,
There's no backup dancers.
Yeah.
There's no track for
Right.
them to bounce to.
All eyes
even
on
if,
you.
You know, even if what you're saying is trash, like you're naked.
did you ever take a time to say maybe I need to jump ship and jump to the West Coast?
I've had the thought. I think that wouldn't be a smart move for me right now because of all the momentum I've built in New York.
Okay.
You know, I have representation. I've been meeting, you know, the casting people of every major network in New York. It just basically, if I were to go to LA right now, I'd be starting from scratch. And not from my experience, but when I had probably just taken my first acting class, and I went to the premiere for Empire.
Okay.
The screening for Empire. I somehow was on a list and got invited, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I actually interviewed Taraji and Terrence Howard on my cell phone. I lost that cell phone the next day, but I did. I don't have the proof of it, but I promise you it happened. And
That sucked ass right there.
yeah, Jeremy Piven was there. Ari Gold from Entourage.
He's amazing,
Yeah.
yo.
So he was there.
He's doing comedy now. You know that, right?
I mean, I don't think that's new for him.
No, I don't think
I don't
either.
really know his trajectory,
Yeah.
but or so much of his story. Besides Dean Pritchard from Old School and like, you know, obviously Ari Gold, that's the role that I fell in love
Iconic
with him
role.
for. Yeah. But he was there and I was outside. I exited, right? From the screening, and he was at the corner, and I was walking, and we were walking in the same direction, and I approached him, and I was like, okay, I have to fucking say something. And I was like, I was obsessed with you on Entourage, you know, you're so talented, blah, 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 you know, blew smoke up his ass. And, you know, he was very gracious. He was like, thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, I literally, you know, I just got into acting myself. I just started acting. And I asked him, I was like, do you think I should go to LA? You don't fucking know me from a hole in the wall. I had the audacity to ask him major life decisions I should make, but whatever. So, but he was super chill, super gracious.
That's dope.
And he was like, don't go to LA until LA calls you.
Oh, wow.
That was his advice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I, you know, have stuck by. And, you know, one of my acting teachers, his name is Victor. He's hilarious. He would speak about LA like, fuck LA. Don't go to LA. It's made out of styrofoam. It's going to fall off and fucking plunge into the Pacific Ocean.
Damn.
He's very anti-LA.
Yeah. You think a little bit, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah. It's made out of fucking styrofoam. It's going to fall off the coast and fucking
Who are
capsize.
some of your comedy inspirations, if I may ask, or acting, I should say?
So, I mean, comedy, I love Sarah Silverman.
Okay.
I love Sarah Silverman.
Sarah Silverman is dope.
Yeah.
She is dope. I don't always get her comedy, but I love her sarcasm, and I understand it.
Well, so I hadn't even really watched too much of her stuff when I had gotten into her. I actually read her book because I had this phase of, I'm still in it. I read like all the memoirs. There's all these comedy memoirs, like Issa Rae's book. I just read Phoebe Robinson's book. She's from Two Dope Queens. Mindy Kaling, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. I read, you know, all their memoirs, and Sarah Silverman's memoir, Whitney Cummings. Sarah Silverman's memoir was the most well written. Like, her ability to articulate is just mind blowing. It was equally hilarious and heartbreaking.
I got you.
You know, she talks a lot about her struggle with depression and mental health, and you know, it's called The Bedwetter. So, like, she would wet the bed up until like a crazy, old age. Yeah. And she told all these stories. Anyway, so I fell in love with her from her memoir, and then I don't know what just happened.
Okay, that's all.
But anyway, so she's one of my inspirations. Of course, Tina Fey. Of course, Amy Poehler. Amy Poehler's Upright Citizens Brigade. She's one of the founders of the biggest like comedy school in the country, because there's a branch in New York, there's a branch in LA. So that's where I first started taking like comedy classes, just for shits and giggles. Honestly, like I did not think I would ever be performing improv ever.
The improv thing is I felt like was so up your lane anyway, but that's just me looking on the outside. Yeah. I just think it's dope that you're doing that. Like, you're doing so much that it's moving. You got, you have your show on BET Digital.
Yeah.
You have you just started your fitness business.
Yeah.
So you're an entrepreneur in that sense.
Thanks.
And you are in the space of creativity with improv and comedy and acting.
Right. It's a lot.
Do you ever feel like you're a jack of many trades, not master of one?
I'm definitely a jack of all trades, master of none, but that's often better than a master of one. Mm-hmm. That's the real quote. They don't tell you that in school, children. I definitely do feel that way. And if I had to pick a person that I want to emulate creatively, honestly, I would say Donald Glover.
Donald Glover is fucking ridiculously amazing.
He does it all.
Yeah.
And
you can sing too.
The person
People
that
don't even say that. You can sing.
I can sing a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you can sing.
Listen, I'm no Whitney. I'm no you know what I mean. But like, I could carry a tune, and I've people tend when I sing on the street, because that's what I do to ease my anxiety. Like if I'm walking through the streets of Manhattan, and I'm a very anxious person. I'm a very high-strung person. Coffee could have something to do with that, but whatever. We'll deal with that later. Singing because singing forces you to breathe.
Yes, it does.
Singing forces you to breathe. It's meditative. And that's why I am constantly singing. When I was in the restaurant business, I would always be singing in the kitchen. That job it's one of the most stressful jobs imaginable, dealing with motherfucking people. So, and their needs and wants and desires, and their attitudes.
Especially attitudes.
Right, and their, whatever, it doesn't matter. So, yes. Anyway, that's just a sidebar. But that's the person that I want to emulate, because he writes, he has his own show, he makes music, he does stand up, but that's not like, people don't know him as a stand up, you know what I mean? People know him as the all-encompassing force of nature that he is. And I identify the most with him out of like everyone.
I think that's your lane. I think that's the new creative. I think that's the new ultra creative. I think there's creators, and then there's ultra creators who can do multiple things, but do them in a well term that you're like, yo, if you pick this lane and you work on this, you can take it here, but you can do a lot. I think the writing thing for you, and
Issa Rae, yes. I mean, she doesn't really do stand up. She is musical, as you'll see in Insecure. She was like a rapper when she was young.
Right.
And it's funny because I don't remember this, but growing up, growing up, every single recess, we were the Spice Girls. I was sporty. We were the Spice Girls, and we sang the entire Spice Girls discography at every recess. That's what we did at recess, because we grew up in New York. We had a sidewalk. That's where we had recess, on the motherfucking sidewalk. Okay.
Word.
So but like me and my friend, we used to like rap. We used to write dumbass raps, but like that's something that we did, and it's not something that like we consciously thought, like it's not something that we did for the result of it. We did it for the fun of it, and honestly, that's what I'm trying to reconnect with.
But I think essentially that is hip hop. Hip hop is not just one thing. Hip hop is a lot of different things. Hip hop is a generational. I mean, it's just so many different things. Hip hop can be, arts of film work. It can be musical arts. It can be a lot of things.
Right.
I think that's essentially what you are as a child of hip hop at the end of the day.
Right. Well, I didn't mean connect with that like specifically pertaining to hip hop, but connect with that feeling and that force of doing things for the pure joy of doing them, because like when we were writing those dumbass raps, it wasn't for any outcome.
Correct.
It was because we had the
You just wanted a good time.
impulse to do it.
Right.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're such a results-driven society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the best art comes from a place of doing it for the sake of the work and not for the sake of the result or the outcome. So, you know, and that's a huge reason why there's so many projects that I've started and haven't finished, is because I got so obsessed with what I wanted it to look like in X amount of months or days or weeks that, you know, I set myself up for failure that way. It's like, it wasn't what I was seeing in front of me. Therefore, it became unattainable and, you know, I would get defeated. You know what I mean?
I understand.
So, like, I have so many scripts, like, on my computer, like.
So where would you like to see yourself in like 5 years? We all have something that we want to see, where we want to see each other. I want to be, like, for me, like,
Yeah.
I would love to have written, I would love to have published a couple of books.
Oh, he said a couple of books.
Yeah, a couple of books.
He said
I would love
couple of books.
I would love to be in a place where I'm financially secure
Right.
and I can raise a family and stuff of this nature.
Absolutely.
Those are things that I want for myself. Where do you see yourself creatively in the next 5 years?
I mean, I want to be entirely dependent on comedy and my art financially. Like, I want that to be what I do
Right.
full time. That's what the end goal is. I also want to write a memoir. I have like a couple of essays written because those books, I just love them so much. And I want to write more of. I want to not even necessarily be in these projects, but there's a few projects that I have that one is a play, which, you know, could maybe become a film. And there are a couple of short film ideas that I want to see through to fruition as a writer, and potentially maybe direct them too. I don't know. I think I might get too. It might become too personal if I direct them both. But there are stories. You know, some of the seeds of those stories are things that we talked about today.
Right, right.
There are stories that
Writing a short story would be dope.
It's not even. I feel like I need to do these things. I need to tell these stories. So yeah,
Would you ever want to produce your own movie, produce your own show?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. I mean, that's the goal with Too Grown.
Right.
You
Producing like something where you're not in the show, but I'm saying producing it where someone is playing you or playing a role that you created.
Yeah.
All right. I think you could do it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be actually really dope.
Listen, at the end of the day, behind the camera is really where it's at.
It is. It is.
You know?
Those checks get really nice behind the camera.
I
Trust and believe that.
I love to perform, but there are some things that because writing was always something that I was incredibly gifted at, and it's something again that I didn't do for the sake of the outcome. It's something that I just did for what it did for me, for the catharsis, for, you know, the therapeutic aspect of it, because when I was in a place where I couldn't express myself, when I couldn't express my feelings verbally, face to face, those are things that I would identify in writing.
Writing is a big part of your life. I've from what I've been listening to and everything that you've talked about today, like, writing is like, it's kind of like the seed of everything. And for you, writing is like a big thing. I think writing is something that I think that's going to take you further than anything else, because I think you just love it. I think that's just something that comes more natural than anything else that you do.
Well, basically everything that I'm doing right now, with the exception of improv, because that's why I love improv.
It's different.
Or I love my hip hop improv
Yeah.
because we don't have to rehearse anything.
Yeah.
Like, we show up and we create from scratch, and it's when you have a great improv show, there are very few feelings that can, like, everything else kind of pales in comparison to how amazing that feels, because everything's made up on the spot, you know? Like, when we blow it out of the water, oh my God. People are like, how do you do that? 1 minute you're in a scene, the next minute you're rapping, the next minute you're singing, the dancing, the choreography. Like, my mom has come to so many shows and she's been like, how do you know what to say next? How do you do it? How do you know what you're going to say next? And it's like, the thing that I love about it is that it forces you to be present, which is something that I struggle with on a regular level. It forces you to be present and it forces you to listen, which are two things that I think are becoming obsolete in our culture.
So improv is a big part too. It helps you get away from the writing and do something different, something that's off key to what you normally be doing.
It's like a spiritual connection. It's like it's spiritual to me. It's meditative to me.
Dope.
That's what it is for me.
On a personal note, what has your life been personally? And the training, I know training,
Personally.
like running around, you're doing your training, you're starting this business and everything. How's your life personally?
Yeah.
Like, what's your personal life been like since you've been sober and you've been working on yourself?
It's been personal. It's been a lot of me. It's been a lot of
A lot of friendships have changed, I'm guessing, at this point.
oh yeah. Psh. I can't. Yeah.
If you guys could
Yeah.
see her face right now,
Yeah.
it just reads all over your grill.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy because people don't understand. Like, they don't understand why I don't show up to a lot of things because at this point, there's no reason for me to be there. Like, there's no reason for me to be in certain situations. They're not going to serve me. If I go to certain events, parties, it's really just to please somebody else. So, people don't get that. And being that alcohol and, other things are such social lubricants,
People need that just to feel comfortable in places. They need it to take off the edge. That's what they say. Oh, let's take a shot. We'll take off the edge.
Right.
Get it back to business.
Yeah, so needless to say, I haven't seen a lot of people in a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I've also made some incredible new relationships and friendships, and these are people with whom I can talk about things like humility and honesty and acceptance.
Right.
These are people that I talk about real principles with, and these are people who I know will be able to call me out on my shit. At the same time, it's forced me to face things about myself that I never really wanted to face.
That uncomfortable moment of looking in the mirror and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, oh shit, yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah. Dealing with flaws of my character that I know that I have to manage in order to not just have healthy relationships with other people, but to have a healthy relationship with myself. That's really where I'm at right now. Like, of course, we live in the Facebook timeline. Yo, I'm convinced that Zuckerberg...
It's got us all trained.
I'm convinced... No, wait. I'm really convinced that Zuckerberg is just putting engagements on my timeline. Literally, I'll see wedding and engagement announcements on my timeline. I'm like, I don't even know these people. Who are these people? You know what I mean? Why are you putting all this shit in my face?
Right.
So, we live in a digital culture in which it's really easy to compare and despair.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I need to fill me. This relationship with myself is just what,
Yes.
and it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. The damage that I did to myself, the years and years of damage that I did to myself and to my relationships, that doesn't go away in a few weeks, in a couple of years. Like, it's gonna take time. So I'm learning patience, which is a virtue that I lack. So it's been uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I'm very much uncomfortable. But I have to be in order to change, in order to grow. And I also am learning how to not, as you can hear from this hour-long conversation that we've already had, I be doing a lot. And taking it easy is not my default. That's not my comfort zone. Like, I've always excelled when I am overwhelmed, when I
Right.
am barraged with things. Like in college, I had my full semester, I had a job, I had 2 internships, I was an organizer. You know what I mean? How my rating, like I was always, you know, like a fucking ping pong ball or whatever. A fucking what's this game? This
Tennis.
one.
No, no.
What's this game that you play with the metal balls? Not a ping pong ball.
I know what you're
What
talking
the
about.
fuck am I talking about right now? What am I talking about right
I
now?
know you're talking about the
Pinball.
Pinball
Yes.
machine. Yes.
I'm like that. Like I'm them little frenetic ass balls. Like that's my comfort zone. And to not be doing that, to be, you know,
Still.
is a challenge.
It's a challenge, but I think it's a well worth challenge.
Yeah,
You
so-
find a lot about yourself when you're still.
Right.
A lot of things, because when you're moving, you're not confronting issues with yourself.
Right.
And I had to learn that myself. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
But once you confront it and you get past it, things get better.
Right.
Things get
Right.
better. Do you, with your business, now that you're in the fitness business and everything else, how do you feel about that business? Now that you've gone into all these creative fields, now you're going into a more, not even so much a creative spot, but now you're in like a real legit entrepreneurial kind of business.
Oh, that's sweet. I feel like that's a very glamorous way of looking at it right now.
Right.
I'm in my infancy with that, you
Yeah.
know, because I was working for a company, and you know, a man can't serve 2 masters, they say. So, and things might change in like 2 months. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just like, I have a few people that I train on my own, you know, privately. And I'm in the phase of just acquiring more clients in the Jersey area, because I was in the city, and I'm just like, this is a lot. This is a lot in and out. And it was wearing and tearing on like me physically and emotionally. You know, if I was 18, 19 and still like getting high, it'd be different.
Right.
You know, but like I don't do that shit anymore, and I'm not that young anymore. So I mean, I'm still young, but whatever. So I mean, I've always loved fitness. You know, this is a part of my you know, rebirth, if you will, is making it a really big priority. And I do believe that when I put my physical fitness first, like it manifests in all other areas of my life. And that's what I want to share with people. You know, I'm great with beginners. It's weird because I'm great with beginners and people that are really advanced. You know, like those are my sweet spots. Because I love like one of my favorite clients. She's a fucking beast. She's a 52-year-old Australian lady, and I just be kicking her ass, and it's like the best. You know what I mean?
There's a lot to learn from those kind of people, though.
Right.
People who keep themselves in that kind of shape and keep moving and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They have a lot of rich information
Yeah.
and advice that they could give you over time.
Exactly.
You know.
And then also beginners. I love working with beginners, because to see them just even make the littlest bit of progress is very inspiring. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm in my infancy with that. I'm still, you know, there's always so much, like I'm constantly, that's one reason I'm on Instagram a lot now, is like looking at, you know, different fitness things,
Right.
Videos and such. But
And
yeah.
you learn. I think in every social media platform there's things to learn from people, especially
Right.
me. I learned how to do photography from YouTube. I make no mistake about that.
Yeah.
But I also learn from other people that I've worked with and stuff like that. But it takes time. And,
Right,
and you
right.
grow. You grow from those experiences, and you grow
Just-
from learning.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be patient with myself, because at the end of the day, like what I make money from, I want to be passionate about, and fitness is something that I'm passionate about. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Damn, that's like 2 grown girls. You got this. You got fitness. You got so many other things going on. Where do you see that business going? To 2 grown girls, everything else. How do you feel? Where do you think that's going to go for you as well? I just want to get that there.
2 grown?
Yes.
Well, ideally, you know, we'll continue to work with BET.
Okay.
That's
gotcha.
ideal. And then the dream would be to get a full 30-minute spot, which is really like 20 minutes with commercials.
Sweet.
I think that would be easy to extend the format. So yeah.
See, you got a lot. I love the fact that you have all these things going on, but you are now starting to become aware of it, and I think you become more self-aware since I
yeah.
met you. And it's like you are like full on, like I'm a grown woman at this point. I'm handling it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting around waiting for things to happen. I'm really just handling it, man.
Yeah.
So I got to say, I really appreciate you coming on my show.
Aw.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
I know I know before I reached out to you, you was like, yo, I'm coming, but Brian, I got a lot going on. And for you to finally make your way back here and come on my show, I really appreciate that. And I want to say a big thanks to everybody who's been supportive. Thank you to everybody who's been listening today. I appreciate all you guys. And if you think that you love this show, man, drop me a line. If you hate the show, well, that's your own life. Deal with it. And otherwise...
Oh, don't put that energy out there, Brian. We was just talking about...
And in this note, man, where can people find you and what should they be looking forward to?
Sure. So my IG, if you will, because we live in an IG world, at its ITS Alana ALANAJ. What else? TwoGrown.com, TWO grown.com is where you can find the full playlist of both of our seasons up on BET's channel. And yeah, just be looking forward to more shows. I have a stand-up show coming up on the 28th at the West Side Comedy Club. And yeah, that's where you can just be updated on all my stuff. And that's it.
And on that note,
And that's it.
we are done. You guys take care, man. It's a wrap. I'll holler at y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.